Well, hey guys, this is DK Spencer, and this is a Mercury Rise Intrubuster. So this is the original X-68 Pistelle, so this would be the equivalent of a Gen 1 X-68 Pistelle. So, since it is in fact a Gen 1, it has started having some issues. Now, I have done a couple of videos in the past showing you guys how to change out the O-rings and everything in this guy. Unfortunately, it's got to the point to where that is not fixing it. So I have upgraded all the O-rings in it a couple of times, but now what's happening is when I go to pierce it, I'm hearing a internal leak. So even after replacing all the O-rings, still getting that leak. So it's time to upgrade it to a Gen 2. So the way we're going to do that, and I'm not sure how necessary it is to get the end cap as well, but I went ahead and bought the Gen 2 end cap and the Gen 2 valve assembly, whatever you want to call it, from MCS. So this is basically the upgrade kit. Now these are sold separately. These two parts are sold separately. This is like 99 bucks, and that's I think 19 bucks. I figured it'd be a good idea to have an extra one of those anyway. So anyway, very simple to do. I'm going to show you guys how to do it, and then we're going to test it and we're going to see, because and we're going to look at a couple other little things. Yeah. So whenever I've tested this one, this is the one that I've shot ballistic Joule with. For anybody new to my channel, no, I'm not just mispronouncing ballistic gel. I'm talking about Joel Stanley, the man, the myth, the legend, the mountain of a man. This is the one that I used in that video. I've used it in 2 videos with ballistic Joel, if I'm not mistaken. This has been very, very reliable and has constantly tested at 50 joules when it's working right. Now, I did one video where I tested it. I think I hit 46 or 48, but I had a little bit of a leak when I was testing it. But anyway, the moral of that whole story is this one is right at 50, just about dead on 50 on a good day, period. So that's what we're starting with. Now, the reason I'm emphasizing that is there's talk that the Gen 2s do not have quite as much power as the Gen 1s, but they're more reliable. Well, I've got to the point to where I can't do anything else with it as a Gen 1. It's got to be upgraded to a Gen 2. So we're going to see, what happens with that. So quite simply, we are going to already took this out, made sure we don't have any CO2 in there. We'll go ahead and get rid of the magazine while we're at it as well. Don't need to take the barrel out or anything like this. This is a very, very simple thing to do. We're just going to take this back piece off here. That should have sprung back a little bit there, so at least if I remember correctly. Oh, wow. Well, that's weird. That whole thing came out there. So I guess I'm going to get ready to show you. Man, that was really stuck in there. That wasn't supposed to come out with that. So I'm going to show you if that didn't come out, this would have been a lot quicker and easier. Since that did come out, we're actually going to have to do an extra step. So anyway, I just realized that one came with the end cap. I did not realize that. Wow. Okay, well, I got an extra if I need it now. I should have looked closer at the picture. Alright, so this does kind of complicate things a little bit, but this is a good thing because I can now show you how to change all of the O-rings in this. So the only one that's kind of a little tricky to get to is the one that's on the front of this. So anyway, and it's not hard to get this out. You can stick your finger in there usually if you can reach it or something just to pop this guy out. Easy to get out, tricky to get back in. So let me show you how to do that. Alright, so that O-ring that it usually will stick on this little lip here. But that O-ring is all the way down in there. I'll see if you guys can see. We're going to take this here little cricket tool, all right, and I reach down in there and got a hold of it. So there's that one, and I'm going to go ahead and change this one while we're at it. Now, if you get the O-ring kit, the Gen 2 O-ring kit from MCS, it's obviously going to have this one and all your other O-rings, and it's pretty cut and dry. You're going to be able to essentially just take your old O-ring off of wherever it goes, match it up with your new one, and put the new one in its place. And I'll show you where all of them are at, even though we're not actually going to change them on mine. Now, this one I'm not going to use. This kit hadn't even been opened. I'm going to keep this one as a spare, but I am going to show you what size if you just needed to change that one and wanted to buy it on your own. That is what it is, 019 PTFE from O-Rings and More, okay? All right, so those are nice little O-rings there. And you're going to just put that right over there like that right there. And in a perfect world, we would just slide it up in there. But it's not going to work like that. And I'll show you why. There's a little catch. So this is going to turn into a more important video than I thought. So it was going to be pretty doggone short if all I did was just pop that thing in anyway. Okay, and I can show you what some of the sizes are if you want to buy them on your own too. But that's a big one that wears out, and again, the hardest one to get to. So you take both of your screws out there, okay, and you're going to separate this. All right, go ahead and put your thumb on that as you're pulling that past. So that's one thing you got to kind of watch, and if you want to go ahead and just get it out of the way, just pick that up and set it over here out of the way. You've got some little springs and stuff here. They're not going anywhere, but you do have to make sure to put everything back in the right place. Now, here is the little tricky part, or not the tricky part, but the little trick to doing this. And I'm going to see if I can let you see that bar right there? Right back this side of that bar, you can push that little piece down. When you push that little piece down, I don't know if you can see or not, but the thing that keeps this thing from sliding in gets out of your frickin' way. So you want to go ahead and set this guy in there like that, and you're putting it, well, poop. Okay, you're going in like that, and it'll catch on that little piece here, and then you're going to just push down right there. Now if I can get it off of my finger. Crap. It was honestly stuck on my finger. Okay, I'm going to turn it up like this to let gravity kind of hold that O-ring on. Try to not let it actually go onto my finger again, which is a little hard to do. There we go. Push it all the way up and let go of that. Now, that's all the way down in there. Now, that's the tricky part. Everything else other than that is completely smooth sailing. You do want to make sure that you get this back on correctly. Now, here's what you got to watch. There's a little spring. You see that little spring right there? Okay. Now you see how it's got a little hook right there that catches on that little post, little pin, whatever. So that little spring, when that is pulled down, it is going to hold this in the correct place. So All right, so that is the correct place. Hopefully you guys can see that. And again, you want to make sure that that little spring, oops, sorry, not trying to make anybody motion sick, but that little spring right there is pushing up against that bar, okay? Now, when you're putting, you can go ahead and put the bottom back on now. We've done all the O-ring maintenance that we need to. We're not gonna, you know, take all of every single little piece apart, because most of these are gonna be good for a long time. You want to hold your thumb against this, make sure your trigger moves back and forth and it's actually got some springiness to it. Go ahead and pull it into the back position and hold your thumb against it so it holds it back, right? Now stick your tube and everything in here and you can let go of it as it comes into place. Now holding it together like that, make sure that your trigger pulls and springs back forward. That lets you know that you fixed everything in there. And then hold it together and tighten these screws back down. Go ahead and get them 90% of the way. Then put the other one in. As with anything, then you can go ahead and snug them down. Don't over tighten them, snug them up good. Check your trigger again, make sure it feels right. It do. Now I see that my little O-ring I saw had that had slid back a little bit and the O-ring is out of the way. So just make sure it's on the front of that thing. So if you look down in there and see it, you can pull this back. Just don't pull it back past. The little catch is right there. It's right that far in. So it's that far down in it. So right in here, sitting right about there in the middle on the bottom. If you pull that past that catch, then you'll have to take it all apart and do all that again. But you've got a good, I don't know, about 2 inches worth of play that you can move back and forth. If you do see that your O-ring is not in the right place in front of it, there's really nowhere it can go except for the right place as long as, you know, this is pushed forward. So anyway, hopefully that made sense. Okay, now to show you where these O-rings are, and honestly, we can go ahead. There's one right here. If you can pinch them like that and pull them off without having to scratch anything, that's fantastic. All right, so that one that I just took off there, if you need to replace that one, and honestly, you very well might, because my original ones, those were kind of loosey-goosey. Those are a 021. I'm using the Viton 021 75 Durameter black. So that's what I'm using for those. I'm going to be using that for other stuff as well. I use those on, let's see, a couple other different launchers. Then we've got this little guy here. Now what I'm gonna tell you with this one is to buy the one from MCS to replace this. Now I've used an aftermarket one, but they're very cheap from MCS, and then you know it's the right size. So they don't list what size it is, so I'm not going to tell you what size I have used on these. I'm going to tell you just to get that one from MCS. That way you know you're getting the exact right size that's going to fit. Because I've been using them with the Gen 1s. We're upgrading to the Gen 2, and I think it's going to work for Gen 1 or Gen 2, the size that they sell. So there you go with that. And I will put a link, so you know, no worries on that. I'll put a link. And also, obviously, if you buy the kit, the entire kit, which it's a little pricey, but if you buy the entire kit, it comes with one. You can see it down in there. But they do sell the individual ones for that if you want to buy the other ones from other places, because the other ones are pretty doggone common sizes. The kind of the odd one would be the one I already showed you because of the material. These are like a real tough, you know, hard kind of material, the PTFE. But anyway, let's get back to it. So we're not going to use this anymore. We can get that out of the way. The spring we're going to reuse. So then you've got this one here on the end of your bolt. Now, if you can't get one off, let's see here. Now the old cricket thing, I stole that from my wife, but it's going to be a bit big and not really curved enough. You really need dental picks. I think I got these from Harbor Freight. But the thing is, be really careful to go to get in between there, and you want to try not to mess up the O-ring. We're going to in this case, but you know, that is tight. Or I'm sorry, I didn't mean not mess up the O-ring. You want to try to, that is some dinky stuff. I'm sure it came from Harbor Freight. That's bent from the O-ring. But anyway, get in behind that guy, but make sure you don't mess up the metal is what I was meaning for that. Again, this one is in there if you buy the whole kit. All right, so what I have traditionally used to replace the bolt tip would be the 12 by 2 millimeter, and that would be the Buna 90. All right, again, from O-Rings and More. But again, that does come with one in that kit if you buy it. All right. And I guess what I'm going to do, I don't know, there's not really much point in rebuilding. I guess I'll keep it as a spare, but this thing is pretty shot apparently. So you've got another O-ring around the outside here. All right, that guy. And that is going to be another one of the 021s right there. All right. And then the one people miss would be the hidden O-ring, as some people call it, which is inside this little guy here. Okay. And you do have a kind of a washer that's on the outside of that, like a, what am I trying to say? Not a washer, a bumper. But anyway, so again, this one in your kit that you buy. Let's see if I can tell you which one it was in there. Yeah, there it is. It's that one. All right. All right. So that guy is going to be a 1.6 by 13.1 Buna N90. Forget that part there. 1.6 millimeter by 13.1 millimeter Buna N90. Also available at O-Rings and More. I'll try to put a link to all these. All right. And then, all right, we'll just put that out the way there. So that's all of those. What am I forgetting? Oh yeah, probably the biggest one that you actually have an issue with would be this one right here on your piercing cap. And that one is a 017. Very common. You can get that from Amazon, from Captain O-Ring. I will put a link. And that should just about cover it. All right, now we're back to what we were originally doing, which is just doing this part, and you'll see how quick and easy, if you're not upgrading O-Rings and you're just swapping this out, obviously all the new O-Rings are on there. They're already pre-greased, everything. So you pop that guy out. Hopefully your little cup don't come out of there too, and you have to do the thing we did at the first. It shouldn't, but what you do is you put your spring from your old one that we just took off on the front of this one. You set it right down in here. You get it started. That's not the right size. Oh yeah, there it is. Get it started. Make sure you don't cross thread anything, whatever. Now, when you get to about right there, you see the threads are not flush, but it started having some resistance. For the love of God, don't force it. When that happens, pull your trigger. It will click, and you can go ahead and go the rest of the way in. Now, that's it. We just upgraded it from a Gen 1 to a Gen 2. And if we hadn't had all that talking about the O-rings, and people had asked me about doing an updated video about changing the O-rings, if that guy hadn't popped out, we would have just done the quick, simple change that literally consists of, and we'll go ahead and do it one time for everybody, that literally consists of taking your old assembly out, and see how it pops out. That's the way it should do. Taking your old assembly completely out, just like that. You would take the spring off your old assembly. Your new assembly comes already put together like that. Put your spring on your new assembly. Put it into the back. And it's the same thing if you're putting on like the tuning chambers and stuff like that. Same deal. It's that easy to put on any of this stuff with this guy. These things are extremely easy to work with. Back to where you get resistance. Pull your trigger. Screw it the rest of the way in. Bada bing bang boom. Let's see what kind of power we got. Alright, let's see. We're going to do some kind of heavy balls, obviously. Alright, so just to be clear for any noobs out there, I know I say this all the time, but if you're dealing with a 3-gram ball like what a Burna comes with from the factory to shoot, and you're doing 50 joules like this, you're going to be at 600 feet per second. If we're doing a 10-gram ball, to get that same power, you've only got to be going 330 feet per second. So just remember, feet per second mean absolutely nothing without the weight of your ammo. And most of us with stuff like this, we're going to use heavier ammo, because when you get to ridiculous speeds with very light ammo, they're very unstable through the air, very inaccurate, and they're not carrying enough mass to the target. I use this analogy almost every video now, but imagine throwing a ping pong ball at somebody really fast or throwing a golf ball at somebody half as fast. The golf ball is still going to hurt more when it hits, because the golf ball is hard and heavy, and the ping pong ball is the same weight as air. Not to mention the fact the ping pong ball is going to fly all over the place if it's going fast enough through the air. So let's find out what this baby will do. Got a little bit ahead of myself. So these are 9.86 grams. Yep. So like I say, if it's hitting 50, we should be at right about 330 feet per second. I'm kind of expecting some power loss switching it over to the Gen 2 setup, but at least it'll work. So let's see what happens. And before we get started with anything, I got this from Amazon. We're going to spray some down there and up in there. Make sure we get this baby lubricated up real good too. Alright, so big thing's going to be, do it leak? Alright, so I try not to cuss on my channel, so we skipped a little bit there. So anyway, the air was coming directly out around this brand new cap. So I know that it's 100% this O-ring that's leaking. And actually, if you feel that, that's a pretty hard O-ring. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do just like what we were talking about. Now we're going to be really careful there, but I'm going to take that guy off, and I'm going to put one of these 021 Vitons like I've been using, because that's not where it was leaking before we did the upgrade, so I know it's not the same problem. It was an internal leak. So, and we are going to use some of this. You can get this on Amazon. I'll try to put a link for that too. Dow 33 Captain O-ring. So we are going to put a little more, even though they have it pre-done on these. We're going to put a little more on that. Again, that's definitely not where it was leaking. It was definitely this one, because it was coming out the back of that cap. But we will go ahead I could have done that a better way. Anyway, I hate that stuff. And that should have, there we go. All right, now let's try this again. All right, let's try this again. Still leaking on the inside. And I have changed everything on it. Well, wait a minute. After the first shot, and that's 336, so that's over 50. And the leaking has stopped. So, maybe it just needed to be shot once. All right, let me tell you what that is. I did show you guys, right? Yep. So that's 51.49. And again, the leaking has stopped. Gosh, I forgot how loud this thing was. So we've actually gained power. I mean, that's pretty crazy. 338. It's pretty warm down here because it's winter time, so I've got the heat cranked up. So, well, it's 74. I got it set at 74. So probably a little warmer in here during the winter than the summer, because in the summer I've, well, no, I usually keep it about 74 down here all the time. 338. All right. Upstairs, on the other hand, is freezing cold in the summer anyway. So that was 52.1. Here, let me show you. Yep. That's wrong. It's 627. While we're in here, we'll take a look at the wall, since I didn't do a pop-up from behind it kind of thing this time. All right, let's get back to business. All right, shot number 3. Oh, what? 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 Holy Hannah. This is the factory barrel. This thing is really showing itself right now. Holy heck. So that is 54.6 with the factory barrel. So wish I would have done the Gen 1 upgrade or Gen 2 upgrade a long time ago. Alright, good. Because I was going to say, if it was still climbing, I was going to figure I was dreaming and pinch myself. So 338, so that's back to 52.1. And the reason I wanted to go check the temperature is because it actually feels warmer in here than normal, but it's still 74. All right, 326. All right, that was 48.47. A measly 320. All right, that is 46.7, and I think, let's see, that's going to be the last one. I just put 6 in, so we're going to release the CO2, and I think I'm going to call it a day on this video. I do have the shorter aluminum barrel. You guys have seen me do videos with 11.5 inch before. I got one of the shorter ones and the Reaper. Also, the shorter one's aluminum, and my 11.5 is aluminum as well. Somebody was asking me that the other day about the steel versus aluminum. The steel is a tighter bore than the aluminum. I'd rather shoot the bigger balls, so I use the aluminum ones, and they're cheaper too. So anyway, there's what we got on that. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.